Hello and welcome to SoapUI tutorial. So in the last tutorial we have seen how you can transfer the workspace ID into get all projects workspace GID, right, using the transfer workspace GID property transfer. And then we also discussed that we'll be covering to transfer the workspace GID as well as the team GID into the Json request of create a new project, right? So that's what we haven't covered till now. So we will use property transfer to transfer the workspace GID and team GID dynamically to the JSON request of create new project so that we don't need to hard code these values into the JSON request. So let's add the transfer property transfer step first, and then we'll see what all steps are required in order to transfer these two values into the JSON request. All right. So let me change the name of this transfer to transfer workspace. I would say workspace and team GID. All right, and let me scroll it up here. Okay, so in this particular property transfer we need to transfer the workspace GID and the team GID. So team GID we haven't got it yet, so for team GID let's see which is the request that we need to trigger in order to get the team GID. So I have added them all here. So you can see get teams in an organization is the request that you will trigger in order to get the teams. Because when you are creating a project in Asana, the structure is basically you have the organization or the workspace, then below that you will have a team, and then below the team you'll have projects, and below projects you will have tasks, stories, etc. So we need to provide the workspace, the highest level hierarchy, and then below that workspace there might be multiple teams, so we need to provide the team ID as well. So we'll use this get all teams or get teams in an organization request to get the teams. So let's add that as well as a step. So I'll add a step as a REST request and I'll say get teams. Now in the get teams, let's get the request for the team. So we'll take this one, get all teams, and click OK. Let's put it above the projects. Okay, so we will get the projects in a workspace, we'll get the team. So we get the workspace and then we get the teams. All right. So from this response, we'll transfer the workspace ID, and from this response, we'll transfer the team ID. So in the team, if you see in this particular request, we are passing the workspace GID manually at the moment. Let's update the transfer workspace GID, and so we'll update this workspace GID property transfer, add a new transfer here, and we'll say workspace GID transfer to team request. We'll just, because we are transferring the workspace GID to get teams request. Okay, so we'll say get team request. So it makes it pretty self-explanatory. And in here what we'll do is we'll just select the second one and we'll select get all workspaces, right? So we'll say get all workspaces. That's the source that we're looking for to get the workspace. The property will be again the response, okay, and it will be the JSON path, and then we are passing this workspace GID to get teams. Okay, so we'll say get teams, and then property will be the workspace GID. Right, so here from the response, if we see the get all workspace response here, so we need to provide the JSON query to get the GID, right, as we did in the old one. So same thing we need to copy. So dollar for the root node, and then data, because this is an array within the dictionary, and then the GID, okay, the team GID, or workspace GID, okay, and that needs to be passed to the workspace GID. So if we run this now, the get teams request will also get populated with the same GID that will be the workspace GID. So if you open this now it is getting dynamically populated. If we remove this, rerun this property transfer, that GID will get automatically populated. Let me pull it further, and you can see that it's getting transferred automatically, right? So that's all done. So now, to summarize, we are getting the workspace GID, we are transferring the workspace GID to get all projects dynamically, as well as to get teams within that particular workspace. Okay, close this, to the get teams. Now once we run this particular request, let's see what the response will be. So at the moment I haven't run this request. Let me run this get teams request, and we'll see how many teams we are getting. Okay, so now you can see we are getting 2 teams below this particular workspace GID. So we have the team IT updated, and then we have RCV Academy team, right? So now, for example, you want to create a project in IT updated team or RCV Academy team, you need to provide that particular specific GID, the team GID, to create project. So first thing you need to pass is the workspace GID, which will be the workspace GID from this response, right? So that workspace GID, and the second thing is the team GID. So within which team you want to create a project. So these are the mandatory values that you need to pass in this JSON request. And now how you are going to do it? We'll use the same property transfer which we have created here, right? So we'll use the same property transfer, we'll create the transfer, and we'll say workspace GID, the first transfer, and then we'll transfer the workspace GID from the get all workspaces, because that workspace GID will be same. So we'll use the same. So we'll say get all projects, get all workspaces, sorry. We'll scroll a little bit. Yeah, get all workspaces, and the property is the response, JSON path, and the path will be same. The JSON path will be same as we used in the previous responses, property transfers, and then we are passing it to create a project. Okay, now we are not passing it to the property, so we are passing it to the property request now. Not, we are not passing it to any of the specific parameter now. So we'll pass it to the property request, and then in the request we need to specify JSON path, because now if you see the create project, what we are doing is we are providing, or we are passing this value not into any of the parameter but into the actual body or the JSON. Okay, so we need to provide where exactly in this JSON request, okay, or in JSON body we want to pass this ID. So we want to pass it into the data dictionary, and then at the workspace, right? So how will you write it? So we just will use the same concept. Start with the node root. So we'll say dollar and then dot. You can see that this is the dictionary data here, right? Which has one dictionary within it. So we'll say dot data, and then below that in this dictionary there are 4 child nodes: name, nodes, workspace, and team. So where do we need to pass this workspace GID? To the workspace. Okay, so we'll just specify workspace. Okay, and now if you try to run this property transfer, the workspace node will be populated with the GID or the workspace GID. Let's try run it, and it will run, and you can see the workspace GID has been populated with the workspace GID. Okay, now we have done the property transfer for the workspace. Now the next is the team ID that we need to transfer. So we'll add another property transfer and we'll say team GID, and the source will be the get teams, right? Property will be the response, language will be JSON path, and then we need to pass it to the create project request. Property is the request, and in the request we need to pass it to the JSON path. Okay, because we need to pass it in the JSON request here in the team ID. So let me delete that, and now let's write the query, JSON query. So if we see the get teams response, okay, let's open that, the get teams response. In the response, the JSON response, you can see that there is a dictionary. Below this dictionary data, there is an array. Okay, so array has two. Let me bring it a bit further up. Okay, so there is an array, and then each this array contains 2 dictionaries. There is a dictionary for each team. Okay, there is one dictionary for IT updated team, and then another dictionary for RCV Academy team. So depending where you want to create your project, you need to provide that particular team GID. Okay, now because this is an array and there are dictionaries within an array, the JSON path will be a bit different for this. So let's write that. We'll put these side by side. Okay, so here we'll start. Okay, so here the root node dollar, and then data, that will remain same, and then below this data you need to choose which array element you want to choose. So because this is an array and there are 2 dictionaries below it, so you need to specify whether you want to choose the first one or the second one, because there are only 2. So I'll choose the second one and I'll put 1 there. Okay, so which will choose the second element in an array, because the first element starts with 0. Okay, and so array index start with 0. That's why for choosing the second element I have put the number 1 there. Okay, and then from that second element we are interested in choosing the GID, so we'll just say GID, right? And then we need to pass this to the request of create a project. All right, and to pass it to the request of create a project, we'll open create a project again, and in this request, if you see, it's pretty simple. The JSON query will be simple. So dollar dot data dot, and the child node is team, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's run this and see if it gets populated. Now you can see that the team ID has been populated as well, and if you see the team ID here, okay, so ending with 1257 is the team ID that has been populated. Okay, because we have selected team ID for RCV Academy team. So now if you see, we have used a couple of property transfers. The first property transfer was to transfer the workspace GID to the workspace, get all projects in the workspace, and get teams. And then from get teams, we are transferring the team GID to create a project. And below that, we anyways have property transfer, which transfers the property of the project ID to update a project and delete a project. So basically now we are not adding anything manually in this particular test case. So if we try to run this test case end to end, the project will get created, then it will get updated and deleted automatically. Okay, so before that, let's close all these windows, save this project. Okay, and let's see what all projects are there in the workspace first. Okay, so let's run this particular request and quickly see the response and see how many projects are there. So at the moment you can see there are 1, 2 and 3 projects. So when this whole test case runs successfully, at the end, when you see get project details after project deletion, still you should be able to see only 3 projects there. So before we run this whole test case, let's see the interface of Asana. So I'm at the home page here, right? You can see that there are 3 projects, and I'll also show you the team. So we have IT updated team, right? Which has 2 project, IT project plan and second sample project. And then we have RCV Academy team, which has the project RCV Academy test project. Okay, so when we execute this whole end-to-end test case, only these 3 projects should remain here, because the other 4th project which gets created will also get deleted, because it is our test case is basically creating a project, updating a project and then deleting a project. Okay, so we'll also verify it on the UI as well. So let's go back to SoapUI and open this test suite and run this. So yeah, so it's creating a project, then updating a project, and then deleting, and then finished, right? So it has executed, if you see, it has executed all the steps here, right? Let me show you the logs. So in this window, so get all workspaces, it got all the workspaces. From this workspace, it took the GID, the workspace GID, it passed, sorry, I took the property transfer, and then it passed it to the workspace GID to team request, right? And here you got the project details, right? Then you got the teams based on the project GID or the workspace GID. In the request message, if you see, that's a get request, sorry. So it got all the teams in that particular workspace, and this from this team it picked up this team ID 1257 and passed to the team GID and the workspace GID from the workspace, get all workspaces. Okay, it passed to the create project request. Now in the create project request, when you got all these values passed, then it created this particular project with the GID 3592. All right, with the name RCV Academy Test Project. So just remember this GID 3592. And now after the project creation, the property transfer had happened successfully with 3592 as the project GID. Then it got all the project detail after the project creation. So now there will be 4 projects. So first, second, third and 4th project with 3592 as the project GID, right? And after that, update request ran. In the update request, it updated the name of the project. So if you see, the name of the project would have been updated, stuff to buy, and in the JSON as well. So you'll see stuff to buy, right? So update response comes in both, so you can view it in XML or JSON. So that has been updated, and as you can see in the response message, after the updation, delete project request ran, and you can see the response came through, which is successfully deleted. And at last you get project detail again, and in the response message you will be able to see only 3 projects again, right? So now you can see this whole test case ran successfully without any manual intervention. So basically you have all the requests added in this particular test suite as in the form of test steps. You have utilized the appropriate transfer properly to transfer the values as per your test case requirement and run this test case end to end. So you didn't have to update any of these values manually. Now, if you go back to the UI part here and let's refresh this page, you should only see 3 projects on this particular workspace, right? So you have the 2 teams, right? We have IT updated, which still has IT project plan and second sample project, and RCV Academy team has RCV Academy test project, right? Because the 4th project that got created as part of the end-to-end test case, it got created, updated, and then deleted, and that's why we are not able to see it on the UI as well. So that's pretty much all about this particular tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll see about some of the assertions that you can utilize in REST API testing. Hope you like the video. Please do share and subscribe, and thank you for watching.